Thanks for joining for the Middlebury School in Germany informational session. This should last about 45 minutes. I'm going to start giving you just a brief overview of the program, and then we have a returnee coming from the Berlin program from last year and also from Mainz. I don't have a returnee from Potsdam, so I'll be talking about that program. But those are your three options if you go to Middlebury and want to study abroad in Germany. Program components, the classes, talk about housing, talk about internships. They're only available during the second semester of a year-long stay in Germany. Talk about extracurricular activities. Make sure to ask the returnees when they join about the sorts of things that they did. The application requirements and the process, the intent to study abroad, that's a new part of the process, whether to go for the year or for one semester, and if one semester, which one. What to expect for housing, what to expect for finances, and then kind of what to do next. And then you'll meet our returnees. So in order to study abroad, you have to have declared your major. You have to have a GPA of a B- overall, a B in your major, a B in your German classes. We're most particularly concerned with your most recent language classes and major classes. If you took, an organic chemistry class and that didn't go so well your first year and now you're a philosophy major, not that important to me how you did in something that you're not currently studying. The idea behind this is we make sure that your German level is up to snuff so that you're able to thoughtfully engage in your university courses and be successful in a foreign language. So that's why you gotta have a basis in your major. You gotta have a very good foundation in the language so you can kind of move forward on the program. You at least have to have had one German course. We used to require two. Still recommend two. A lot of students would do them concurrently. Students who start German at Middlebury, so you don't test into anything, you just start right at the beginning. A lot of students will elect to do the language school for German, more so than any of my other programs anyway. It's a fairly popular path and it gives you a lot of practice with writing, which you'll need for this program. Language course enrollment, we expect for Germany that you are enrolled in a German class the semester prior to going. The first thing you're going to have to do here, first thing is watching this, if you went to study abroad fair also, but the first deadline is November 1st. And by November 1st, you have to have declared your intent to study abroad. You can't participate in the study abroad application process unless you've first done that. The most important thing about the intent to study abroad process is which semester. So if you're telling us you want to go abroad for the year, great, you get to go for the year. If you're telling us you want to go for one semester, we need to balance because by virtue of being gone the whole year, you're automatically balanced fall and spring. You're one human gone both times. But for every fall semester we have student we have off campus, we should have a spring semester student off campus. Otherwise, things that maybe some of you have experienced, which is waitlist for classes that you can't get into that you need or want, and a housing shortage here on campus. It just makes everything more cramped here. It also makes the spring semester at many of our programs abroad, much fuller. So we're trying to spread it out on campus, but also give people the better experience when they're abroad to have, more attention, smaller site, smaller groups at the different sites at our schools abroad. It would just, be better for everyone, mostly students, if that's able to happen. So that's why this new thing is happening. So if you're going to study abroad for the year, great. If you can study abroad in the fall, given your major requirements and your language requirements, please study abroad in the fall. It will save us from having to move people to the fall. I think it's better if people can just decide when they can go, and those who can go in the fall, and then those who can't go into the spring, go in the spring, and it hopefully should shake out a little bit better than it has been. Study abroad application is the next deadline. So sometime between November 1st and February 1st, you can decide if you still want to do this, or if you still want to go to Potsdam. Maybe you've changed your mind and you want to go to Mainz. We're going to have more flexibility. I'm going to have more flexibility changing among the sites than changing between the semesters. You're going to get your approval from your major advisor to go. That means that you're going to have declared your major. So even if you're a Feb, you have to have declared your major. It is not the end. There's a little bit of flexibility in that too, especially if you're a Feb. If this is truly your second semester on this campus, it's entirely imaginable that you might change your mind after finishing whatever you think is going to be your major class right now. Be like, nope, don't like that, not doing that for my whole life, and change. And that's okay. the reason we have you do it so early is so that you have time to plan. And then if you plan early enough, just like with the study abroad deadline and the intent deadline, if you plan early enough, there's time to make a change. If you wait and you don't plan to the end, there's really no recourse there. You know, if you don't tell us you're going to study abroad until February 1st, we can't tell you you have to take a language class. You've already missed registration, that sort of thing. Approval from your most recent language professors. It's not just approval, it's an assessment. So they let our director know, I'll read it first, but they let our director know kind of where they think you fall in terms of your language abilities. It's really important that by the time you're studying abroad, you're at least a B2 approaching a B1 on the actual scale. So B1 is, very functional, able to engage, able to write, able to understand what's happening around you. And that's where you need to be, because you're going to be taking 2 of your classes at the university alongside German students. And those professors are not doing comprehension checks, making sure you're okay and understanding. They're just teaching the material, just like they do here to native speakers. So students here who are native speakers of English, they have to make sure they have a very high, TOEFL score so that they can sit in these classes and understand as well. Academic rationale, like I said, especially for the spring. If we had more students who wanted to go abroad in the fall, it would be the opposite. There's nothing magical about spring. I just think that by having people wait, it just pushes more and more people to the spring. So if suddenly we have, 100 more kids who want to apply to go abroad in the fall than in the spring, we'll ask you to move the other direction, but I don't anticipate that happening. Give your major advisor form to your professor in December. Many faculty do not work on the Middlebury campus in J-term. They're either writing or researching or off somewhere else. So they're more difficult to get a hold of. And usually they're going to want to meet with you and talk about, basically your progress toward the degree, whether or not you can do that in Germany, if taking courses toward that major is going to be part of your plan in Germany, or if you can design your program of study so that you don't need any classes toward your major while you're in Germany. These are all the kinds of things you got to figure out. Lots more language progress happens if you can find a way to go for a whole year. I get it. There are lots of competing priorities. You've got 8 semesters at Middlebury. There are reasons you might not want to spend 2 of them away. I get it. Never had a kid come back from a whole year and be like, I don't know, a semester probably would have been fine. Definitely had kids come back after a semester and be like, I was just starting to get it. I was just hitting my stride. I was just making my friends. And, I really kind of wish I'd been able to study abroad for the year. So give that some thought right now, because again, like later on, it might be too late. But right now, just look at it, map it out. Say, okay, if I went for the whole year, what does that look like? When am I taking my major classes? If you're a German major, no problem. If you're one of the many, many majors that are offered abroad, also no problem. Some things it's going to be harder. I get that. Some of you have, some of you are athletes and you're going to want to be here for a certain semester, or you've got some sort of spring commitment. You're going to want to be here in the fall semester. All of this is understandable. But just right now, while it's early, think about it while there's still time. There's also an internship option available in the second semester, and you'll take more university classes. There might be a little bit of a shift in the program, but currently, the academic program, no, that was the next slide. The academic program is 1 program course throughout the semester, 2 university classes, and then 1 intensive class right in the beginning, 3 to 4 weeks. We're messing with that a little bit. But basically all you're doing for the first month that you're there is taking this intensive language class at your own level. So we put you all into a German language school. So it's not that you're all in one class dealing with the same things. You take a test and you get placed in your level so that you can work on what you need to work on. But by the second semester, your German's up to speed, you're full speed ahead, and then you can just take 4 of your classes at the university, or swap one of those classes with an internship if you're interested. So here is Mainz, and here is Berlin, and here is Potsdam, and I'll go back through these when I have the students come and talk. This is where my slide is. I just kind of talked all about this, about where you'll take your classes. But I'll just talk a little bit about that culture and composition class. This is taught on, for each of the students in the program. It's not like a whole class come together. It's kind of very individualized toward your own needs. We do the weekly writing workshops. And then you're going to have a little bit of group work for academic writing, teach how to write these academic papers. But most of it is really directed toward you. And part of what you'll do is you'll do some rewrites of your papers for your university classes. and you'll get some feedback on those papers. So that the hope is by the time you turn those papers in, there's nothing, to keep you from getting the best grade that you can get. Because they've been workshopped and you've been able to have some time to work on them as well. So you can ask the students who will be here in a minute about that as well. A lot of self-direction and a lot, like I said, you're not going to have regular assignments and assessments throughout. It's really all hinging on this last paper, which is why we give you the opportunity to, not just the opportunity, we require that you identify your paper topic and be working toward that end goal throughout the semester, just to make sure that you can succeed. Your German classmates might not have the same work that you do. They'll likely be taking far more courses, actually. And the Hausarbeit, that is the paper that's due at the end, and that sometimes is just our requirement, even if it's not a requirement of the class. Students sometimes ask about other sorts of classes that they can take, STEM classes, that sort of thing. All of that becomes more, it becomes easier just in the second semester because you have more courses available to you, because you have to write these Hausarbeit for your first class at the university. Then by the second semester, if you need to take, STEM class or whatnot, it's easier to take those because you don't have, because those won't have a paper. You'll just take a final exam, and you at least have to take one of these courses that has a paper offered at the end. Talk about housing a little bit. You have the option to pre-select or to find your own housing. Recently, students have definitely said, use the housing that's available to you. Mainz is small and the university has the housing right there for you on the university campus. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Just live on campus. It's easy. Berlin, giant, and has not only the housing for the university, but also the university itself is spread out. Different faculties are in different neighborhoods. So that can work okay if you're a German student and you decide that, you're a psychology major. So after you figure that out, what you do when you apply to college, by the way, you're going to live near the psychology building, and then your life can just be right there in that little corner of Berlin. And that doesn't work for you liberal arts students who want to take psychology class and a history class offered two different places. And it also doesn't work because they don't give you priority for housing, and they're going to place you wherever they have a space, regardless of what you're studying. So you're going to be traveling a lot in Berlin. Even so, students have said that just for one semester, it's not worth trying to find your own house, your own apartment. Apartments are very expensive and difficult to get. So even though there's travel involved, they would recommend that you have, and it's not that we're not placing you, we're just kind of telling them that they need to place you and that you would like to be placed. Potsdam, similar, except that it's kind of more similar to Mainz just because it's a smaller place, but then you have the access to Berlin. So when I talk about Potsdam, I usually talk about it as kind of like the happy medium. Mainz is small and everything is very contained and easy to travel between places. Berlin, giant and sprawling. More opportunities, as any big city has, to do fun things. So Potsdam, you have that smaller day-to-day existence. And then when you choose to have, the big city nights out, you can commute into Berlin. I had students, I don't know, a few semesters ago, and one was in Berlin and one was in Potsdam, and they were going to the same event. I don't know where, but the Potsdam student, even though the event was in Berlin, actually had a shorter travel time than the student already in Berlin. So it really is very close. On that map that I showed you at the beginning, it just says Berlin because Potsdam it's right there. There's no space for another dot. You have to live with German speakers. That's our rule. And if you want to find your own housing, you need to arrive early. I'm gonna stop this share. Let's see. No, not here yet. Gotta figure out how to know when my returning is here. Oh, there he is. Hi, Rostik. You're supposed to take your video on so we can see that you're here.
I am here. My video is on.
Huh?
My video is on.
What is now? Hi.
It was already on. Anyways,
Okay. Well, now we can see you, regardless of whether or not it was
that's
on.
good.
I'm gonna go back and you tell them who you are and where you were. Oh, that's you. Go ahead.
My name is Rostik. I'm a senior. I was in Berlin last fall, so only for one semester, and I what else is there to say? I lived in one of the dorms, and I studied psychology at the FU. At least the two courses that I could take were both psychology courses. Um, yeah, I really liked my time in Berlin. Great city. A lot of opportunities for you to travel and stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know.
How'd you choose Berlin?
I definitely wanted a big city. I have been to Mainz before I chose it, before I had to choose, and Potsdam seemed kind of being far away from a big city. Well, I mean, I would find out that, like you just said, Nicole, it's not actually that far off because you can just take the train and it would like from the center, it would be like a 20-minute drive from Potsdam. If I'm not mistaken. I chose it because I just wanted to escape from Middlebury, Vermont, to a more like bigger scene, and I definitely did not regret choosing it.
All right, so tell us all about it. Start with, we've only got 15 minutes here, so we're gonna give him all of his airtime. Tell us about your housing.
Well, housing, I lived um, quite far from the center. I don't know whether the dorms that kind of Middlebury looks for are going to be the same dorm that I lived in. I would imagine so. I lived in the south part of Berlin. It was called Lankwitz. And from the center of the town, from the center of the city, you would usually need to do a connection or two. There's a bus system that would run from pretty much directly from the dorm to the metro or the other metro, which is called the S-Bahn. And then that's how you would get to like the Brandenburg Gate. To get to the university, you also would need to do a connection. You need to take two buses. And usually it would not, if you kind of time it right with, with different apps that you have on your phone, and if Deutsche Bahn is good today and it does not, make your bus go late, then usually it's about 20 minutes to the university itself, specifically by bus. Um, the dorm was, my room was pretty nice. I had a single room and then I shared a bathroom with one other person. Like you already just heard, it was a German speaker, but I didn't really talk to him. But I'm sure you could if you wanted to. Um, the bathroom was clean, I think, because you are very much responsible for the bathroom, and your um, kind of sink mate, I guess, I don't know, is going to be responsible for the bathroom. You are the one that kind of has to keep it clean. You share that common space. The room does not have anything. It will only have a bed and like a foam mattress. Everything else, and then obviously like a chair and a table and stuff. But everything else you would need to buy. I even heard that sometimes you would need to buy the blinds for the window. At least that's what I've heard from my Babel guide, is that a couple of semesters ago there used to be a person that lived on the third floor and they didn't have like window blinds. You only get window blinds if you live on the first floor. Um, but if you live on the second, third floor, there are no window blinds. At least my room did have them, but it's because the resident that lived before me just left them there. So it kind of depends on how lucky you are. And then a kitchen, there's like going to be a gym. I didn't go to the gym because at that point I didn't feel like it. But there's a gym and a bar. There's a laundry, which you have to compete for. I woke up at like 6 a.m. to do my laundry, but was pretty effective. You do have to pay for the laundry as well, and it is semi-expensive, I guess. Especially, I mean, you don't pay at Middlebury, so it is, going to be a weird change. Um, the kitchen, very, very, very situational. The kitchen that I was assigned to was very dirty. I did not go there. I actually went there a single time. After I went there a single time and saw how dirty it was, I did not use it a single time. But there were kitchens that were super clean. It really does depend once again on the people that you get assigned to, as in to use the kitchen, because you get the keys to your room. With the keys to your room, you will also get the keys to the kind of entrance, and you also get the keys to the kitchen, and like the door, the drawer to the kitchen. There's like a drawer that you get assigned. Other kitchens get closed because I guess people don't want to share their resources. I don't know, their fridges and stuff. So the kitchens do get closed. Sometimes you can use the other kitchen if it's open, but once again, you're technically not supposed to. So you're very much dependent on what kind of luck you have with your other residents. Or the problem that we had is that the residents from before our semester didn't clean after themselves. And then, but basically by the end of the semester, we were like, okay, so nobody is using this. We might have to clean. But at that point, it was already too late. So once again, it's all very dependent on what you do with your um, roommates, I don't know, kitchen mates, whatever you might call it. Um,
So what did you eat? Where did you eat?
I ate out usually, or there were a couple of actually what I really liked about that part of town is how many supermarkets there were, like just a 5 minute bus ride away. There was like a big supermarket. There was a Lidl, there was a McDonald's if you're really feeling for it. There were a lot of donut places. So if you have some money to spare, it would actually sometimes be even cheaper to go to the supermarket than to cook for yourself. Like to buy a donut, for instance, would be sometimes cheaper. It really depends. You kind of have to track the prices. There's like four different choices of supermarkets that you can go to. But that's what I liked about the part of town. It's very quiet. There's not much going on, not a lot of traffic, definitely. I would say it's safe. I mean, obviously, I can't really say because I'm a man, but I did feel safe most of the time. Actually, I felt safer there than I would if I like was in the center, for instance, because it was that quiet. Um, Connections wise, like I said, it's you do have to take a bus to take any form of like metro, but the bus is regular usually. It does come every 10 minutes, and there's a second bus that would actually take you to the zoo area, which is the center of the town as well. But once again, you have to just track everything on the Deutsche Bahn app and just have to plan everything around that. But I really liked my time. Um, yeah, can't really say much. Just make sure to kind of arrange with the school about how you will pay for the housing and kind of be aware if you're receiving a scholarship, be aware of kind of the fact that you will like still have to pay for the housing even if they paid for it before. Um, what else can I say? I mean, usually, I mean, most of you guys know me in person anyways, so you can ask any questions. But there's a lot of things you can do in Berlin. There's a lot of weekly events that happen, and I don't just mean parties. There's a lot of like different kind of art festivals. I think every year, actually, right when you're going to arrive, there's going to be a lights festival in Berlin. Really, really fun, where the entire city for pretty much a week just lights up at night, and the main attractions are going to be like all colorful, and there's going to be videos projected on them. Obviously, if you're over I'm legally allowed to say this. If you're over 21, you can go to Oktoberfest. Really fun time as well. Definitely kind of um, plan your weekend and then go back to school the next day. But it was really fun as well. Um, but I personally don't really like going to parties or like big clubs and stuff, but I still found a lot of things to do in Berlin. A lot of museums. A museum Sonntag every first Sunday of the month. All of the museums are free. You can go to it. You can pretty much visit all the museums while you're in Berlin. Um, yeah, studying. I guess to be honest, studying is kind of what I found to be the least kind of important for me, only because all of the studying that I did that I liked was with the Middlebury School itself and not with the university. I went to university only 2 times per week because of the classes that I took, and they were fine. Can't really say much because one of them was a lecture, so I didn't really get to participate, and the other one was a seminar, and that was very conversational based and really gets to test your German a lot, especially with the other German speakers. But I wouldn't, even if you used sometime like if you really just want to use an English word, like it's not a big deal. They're not going to look at you like you're some, you're breaking the law. I think, especially in a seminar class, it's a little bit more important for you to just kind of convey your opinion in the best way possible. And if it just so happens that you will commit a crime and say one English word, it's fine. Everybody does understand English there, and the professors are really nice, or the whatever they're called, the docent in. Um, yeah, I guess maybe if there are any questions, yes.
No, Marley's here.
Oh,
We're
okay,
doing
you
her
said,
Marley.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Um,
Talk
all right.
about, I have one more
Mhm.
question. You
Yeah.
talked about all these fun things you did. How did you meet people to do fun things with?
Well, um, I did meet a lot of people. Like you're supposed to go to like a language school in the first month, in the first 4 weeks when you arrive to Berlin. I mean to Germany. I met a lot of cool people there, mostly because they were in the same boat as me, and we got to um, kind of bond over that, similar trauma and stuff. I'm kidding. Uh, but then there are also a lot of fun people at the university. Like my classmates at the classes that I took were also really fun, and I got to do a group project with them. Um, there's also a lot of just not networking, but I guess socializing events. The one that I spoke about. A lot of museums, a lot of cafes, and a lot of even clubs will have very chill like events and meetings that you can go to, especially museums. They always have like some kind of thing. And obviously, I didn't take part in the clubs that the university offered because I was kind of preoccupied with going to cafes and meeting people there. But there's like people in Berlin, I would say, are very, very open, especially the ones that you are going to meet. They're very kind of happy to be there and very approachable. You often hear a stereotype about like Germans being very reserved, and that is true, very reserved. But when you kind of get to know them and when you kind of show them that they are being this sincere person, I think you will kind of really get to enjoy what they have to offer. Um, yeah, I met a lot of cool people. Maybe I got lucky. I don't know. The also the dorm itself also organizes a lot of events. There was like even a Christmas night. There was a Thanksgiving dinner for some reason, even though none of them are Americans. There was a Halloween night. Obviously, because the dorm has a bar. The bar like every I wouldn't say daily, every other day organizes kind of some kind of a party-ish thing that you can meet people there. So there's definitely a lot of like social events and opportunities that you can take advantage of. You definitely won't get lonely. And if you have the Deutschland ticket, you can travel with them. Basically, if you use the regional train system, the one you can use for free if you have the Deutschland ticket. Um, really useful. You can go to Leipzig just with one train. You can go to Hamburg with I'm pretty sure like 2 or 3 trains. It's very fun getting to make those adventures. And then obviously Deutsche Bahn will say, "Oh, your train is not coming," and then you have to get out of it. But that's part of what I found to be fun.
I promised him he could go back to his class at 5. Does anybody have any questions?
Or you can ask them when I meet you tomorrow at the German event thing.
All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate your
Okay,
time.
thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. Hi, Marley. Thanks for waiting. How you doing?
Hi, no problem. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you introduce yourself to the people?
Sure.
Do your best to sell Minds. Tell them why you chose Minds, whether or not it was a good choice, you know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so I'm Marley. I went to Mines last spring. Um, I was really happy with my choice to go to Mines. I think that maybe you guys have already heard a lot of this stuff, but I'll just share what I thought about it. I think that Mines is well, I know that Mines is smaller and more intimate than Berlin. So like to me, it was a lot easier to meet people and to feel like there was a community at the school, but then also like in the city of Mines itself. Um, I also felt like there was a really strong like campus feeling compared to other schools around Europe. So if you guys didn't know this already, the schools in Europe and well, at least what I know in Germany, it's kind of like students go to school, they do their school thing, and then they go do whatever else. And they don't like eat and breathe college in the same way that like Americans do. But the thing about the school in Mines is that they're a little bit more Americanized in that way, and so there is like a strong like campus feeling, and there's like events going on, and there's students meeting up and doing different things like plays and parties and whatever, like on campus, which I think is pretty rare. So I really liked that, and it made it nice to like meet people and have fun. I would also say that because Mainz is smaller than Berlin, the commute is a lot better. So, like, if you want to explore the city or just go to a gym, go to the river, whatever, it would take 5 to 15 minutes to get anywhere you really want to go. Well, not anywhere, but to most places that you want to go. Whereas Berlin, what I heard from my friends was that it would take like 45 minutes to get anywhere. And I'm not like trying to like criticize Berlin. I think Berlin is great for its own experience, but I think that is a pro for sure. And then I also think to some extent there is a little bit more support from the program in Mainz. There were some staffing issues last spring in Berlin, so that was kind of a special case, but the program director does live in Mainz, so you can, go to get coffee with her, grab a meal with her, and she can help you with whatever you need in person, which I think is really nice. Yeah.
Can you tell us about your classes a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I took the first two classes, which are through Middlebury, which did Rustic talk about that?
No. He talked about that, the initial month. So why don't you talk about the course that Heike teaches? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The cultural
So
composition class.
yeah. Okay. So then after that, like 3-week initial course that you take that Rustic talked about, we have this culture and composition class. And basically for that class, you write an essay, a few essays, sometimes the essays that you're working on for your other classes. And then you meet with a tutor once a week, and they will help you go through your essay, tell you what you could do to make it better in terms of writing or content, and like help you plan, help you figure out how to write an essay in German, all of these things. So, and then have you talked about how the grading system works for the
Go
other
ahead.
classes?
No.
Okay. So for the other two classes you take with the university, the only grade that you get, unless you're taking a special class, is an essay. And you write one essay and that's it. And so, like, for each class, at least that's what I did. And you start the process of writing this essay really early. And then when you go every week to meet with your tutor, you'll work on that essay with them. So this class that you're getting credit for is basically just somebody being paid to help you write your essays for your other classes, which is really nice, I thought. And you also get free like coffee or another drink. So that's also really nice. Yeah. And then do you want me to talk about my classes at the university?
Rustic took 2 psychology classes, so that's a different experience than most people have, I think.
Yeah. So I took the history of Mainz, and then the Green parties in Germany and Europe. So that was a history class and a political science class, both of which I had not taken any other college classes for. I found them both great. Both of the professors were really nice, had worked with Middlebury students before, tried to engage Middlebury students pretty well, but didn't push us to talk all the time because sometimes it was really scary talking. And we didn't have to do a lot of in-class like participation. You could kind of just like sit and listen, which was really nice when you're in Germany speaking German and you don't understand everything all the time. And sometimes when you have something to say, you don't know exactly how to say it. Like, it's okay if you don't say things sometimes, because really your final grade is just the essay. But obviously it's good to participate, and professors are really good at least the ones that I took, they were really good at trying to like encourage participation without being like pushy about it.
Good. And how did you do in your classes?
I did.
I don't mean
I
like
did
your grades, but were you like a lot of what I'm looking for is were you stressed out about your grade and was it okay in the end? Did you have enough language to do it? That's the kind of thing. And you don't have to tell me
Okay.
about your class yet.
Yeah. Okay. So, I was stressed about going to class when I went, just because I was afraid of maybe being called on and not having anything to say or stumbling over my German, which actually never happened. So I was never put in the situation where I had to speak and I didn't want to. Um, in terms of my essay, my final grade, I was not stressed about that because we had the entire semester to work on it. And we had meetings with the professors to talk about our essays. And yeah, once a week we would get together with somebody whose job it is to help us with writing these essays. So I felt very supported in that. Um, my final grades were good. I got an A minus and a B plus, which I think is pretty decent. And with the amount of support that I got, I think it made a lot of sense. So yeah, I was satisfied.
Good. Perfect. You want to talk about your housing a little bit?
Yeah. So I lived in a dorm right in the middle of campus. Um, I was in kind of a suite situation with 7 other people. So we had each individual rooms, our own sink, and then we shared our bathrooms and we shared a kitchen. There are 3 or 4 different dorms that you can be in, and they all kind of have different setups. So just because that was my setup doesn't mean it will be yours. But everybody kind of lived communally, like sharing a kitchen or sharing a bathroom or something like that. Um, and everybody in my suite was super great. They all like were very friendly. Sometimes we went out together at night for drinks or something as a suite, and we cooked together, had some meals, and I found that they were really good at helping me with my German. Like some people, when you talk to them and they hear that you aren't a native German speaker, will just automatically switch to English. But for me, in my case, I told my suite mates, like, oh, I have this language pledge and I really want to learn to speak German. And they totally honored that and were super patient and super helpful with me. So, yeah, that was awesome.
Good. Would you say those were your best friends that were there, or did you make friends other places?
Um, I actually met a boy that I spent a lot of time with.
Good
But
job.
other than him, I spent a fair amount of time with the people in my suite, but I would say I spent the most time getting close with actual like Middlebury students in the German program, who I just didn't know very well before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do much traveling?
Yes, I traveled all the time.
I feel like the difference, like I have my Spain meeting the other day and I traveled all the time. I went to Italy and France. And whenever I ask this question in the Germany meeting, it's always, yes, I went to all these cute little places in Germany. So where did you travel?
Oh, okay. No, I went to different countries.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't spend a lot of time traveling in Germany, which if I could do it again, I would spend more time in Germany. Um, I went, I don't even know where I went. I went to Prague, to Italy, to Spain, to France, to Switzerland, to Austria,
Where
to
in
Belgium.
Germany did you go?
Oh, in Germany, I went to Munich,
Mhm.
but only for like half a day, because I was just kind of stopping by on a train somewhere else.
Mhm.
I would really recommend going to Munich, especially if you enjoy the mountains. It's also just a beautiful city to walk around in. I went to Berlin. I thought Berlin was awesome. I happened to be there on like one of the biggest holidays in Berlin that people celebrate. So I would recommend like looking into the holidays and kind of like going to different places during those holidays if you can, because that was really awesome. It was super random. I didn't mean to, but I was so glad I did it. So you should try to plan that. Um, and other German speaking places I went to, Austria is incredible. Like highly, highly, highly recommend.
I feel like Potsdam doesn't get any love at all in this meeting because I don't have any returnees. Nobody was there last year. But did you go at all to Potsdam?
No, I didn't, but I will say when I was in Berlin and I was talking to people about what I should do there, they told me to go to Potsdam.
Yeah. It's
So
lovely. The campus picture there on top is really terrible. I don't know why that makes it look like somewhere you want to go, but it's a nice city and it's definitely livable, walkable. You won't be spending your life on public transportation. We talked a little bit before. I call it like it's like the Goldilocks of the three programs in Germany. It's like the one that's just right. It's small enough. You won't be speaking English to you all the time. You won't waste your whole day on public transportation. We did that. We did that. I wanted to talk about money a little bit. Can you hang out while I talk about money? Because I'm going to ask you about money.
Yeah.
Rostik was talking about it a little bit and how he paid for his housing. So the way that this works is it doesn't work like at Middlebury. It works, you get a tuition charge, you get a study abroad fee, and then you have out-of-pocket expenses. So it's a different model from Middlebury. What's the same is they will look at your family contribution, your family situation, and determine your family contribution just like they would if you were at Middlebury. The difference is when they say that your family can afford, say, $6,000 per semester, they're going to make up the difference to our $30,000-ish program and not to the $40,000 program. So sometimes people feel like they're not getting as much money, but this shouldn't cost as much as being here. The other thing I will say is that if any of you have work study, it's always replaced by loans because you can't work while you're in Germany. And so students sometimes they're not used to having as many loans and they don't take their loans, and you'll need those in order to pay for your out-of-pocket expenses. So tuition charge up here, $19,175. That's for next year. $2,000 study abroad fee. That's for next year. So let's just call that $21,000 for my feeble brain. And then every semester you're going to have about $9,000 in out-of-pocket expenses. That's where I got the $30,000. The year tuition charge is exactly double study abroad fee, but the out-of-pocket is a little bit less. It's literally one flight instead of it would be 2 flights if we doubled it, and that's pretty much the only thing that is different. So in a sample, fall student going to Germany, you get your bill for $21,000, plus you've got the, say, $9,000 out of pocket. That 8530 hasn't been updated for next year. We'll ask the kids who are there right now how much they spend, and then we'll come up with a more accurate number. But if your family contribution has been determined by financial aid to be $6,000 a semester, they're going to award you the difference between $6,000 and $29,705. So they're going to give you about whatever, $23,700. So in this example, Middlebury would pay itself first. They would pay themselves your bill, your study abroad tuition bill, and the study abroad fee bill. And that would leave a balance of $25,300. That money plus the $6,000 that you have come up with, that's going to be what you're going to use for your living expenses when you're there. It gets complicated in Germany because of the housing. I'm still trying to figure out how to better charge people for their housing so it's more easily understood and less complicated for everyone. And I'm like 9 years in and I haven't quite dialed it. We used to just put it on the bill for Middlebury, but it has to go on later because it's not the same. Like here at Middlebury, you spend whatever you spend for room and board, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how much you eat. Not the case in Germany. Their rents are like 25 euro a month different. And I once suggested that we should just charge you all the same. That was not well received. So that is not what we do, because if Marley's dorm room costs 25 euro less a month than Rostik's, we're not going to charge them both the same. So this is how we do it. How did you pay for your housing and did it drive you crazy? And how can I fix it for you? You're muted before you start talking. Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm trying to remember this. What happened? Well, it's special because Heike, the program director, had some issues because her bank got shut down and she had to.
Yeah, you might not
Yeah.
get a sample. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little special. I don't know.
And also now we require students to get visas if they can. So if you get a visa and you don't receive financial aid, you actually have to put like $6,000 in a bank account for the time that you're there. And so then you'll just be kind of eating through that every month. In order to prove to the German government that you have enough money, you have to actually give them your money. Whereas every other country I do, you just have to like show them your bank statement. So the point is housing is complicated. We have to buy it ahead of time for you in order to reserve your room. And then basically you spend the whole semester reimbursing the program is how it's supposed to generally work. You're right. Sorry. For example, this past spring we had a problem. But did
That's
you feel
okay.
like you had enough money to eat and live and do all the things you wanted to do?
Yeah, I can talk about money for a second. I did find that groceries were a lot cheaper. They also had a dining hall. And it depended on what you got, how much you paid. It wasn't like an all-inclusive thing, but I usually paid like $2 to $3.50 for a whole meal there, which is pretty good. I would say like normally you could estimate like 5 for a meal. Otherwise, yeah, public transportation was, you know, you didn't have to pay for it because it's paid for by Middlebury. Yeah, everything else is optional. Like I spent a lot of money traveling, but that's because I saved up for study abroad and when I was like 10 till now. So that's just kind of like a on you thing, like how much money that you're willing to spend. But one thing I did want to say though, with all of the bank stuff, is the day that so you have to open a German bank account, put money into that bank account. And then when you leave, you close the bank account. And I forgot about our closing the bank account day. And I did not transfer my money back to the US. So when I closed the bank account, I had like a ton of money in my bank account because I didn't end up like paying the housing stuff and whatever. So all the money that I had that I was going to pay for the housing with, I just had in cash. And then I had to travel around Europe with like, all this cash in my wallet. So really be careful. And that happened to a lot of people too. So be careful about like transferring your money back to your bank in the US.
I'll bring you back to the pre-departure meeting so you can tell people are leaving imminently. These guys are gonna forget that by the time they go, Brad. But I'll help you. I'll help you remember. This is my PSA for you, Marley. If you decide to go to Monterey after having been at Middlebury and been to the study abroad program, and if anyone's been to language school, they'll give you money off of your degree. So that's my PSA for you. I'm gonna let all of you think of questions while I go through this last slide, and then if anybody has anything for Marley, please let us know. But you can meet with me. You don't have to meet with me. This is fine. If you know that you want to go to Potsdam in the fall, great. If you have questions about what classes or this sort of thing and you're having trouble finding them on the website yourself, you can definitely ask me. Register that intent to study abroad by November 1st. And really, if you can go in the fall, go in the fall, because we're gonna have to move people, and it's better to just own it, embrace it from the beginning, get your friends to go with you, and then it will be a great time. Declare your major. Finish your application to study abroad by February 1st. Please remember to have asked your major advisor and your language professor to do their part before January, because they're not all on their email in January. Now is a good time to look at your passport. Make sure it's not going to expire more than 3 months after your after your study abroad. And if it is, go ahead and renew it. You have to upload a copy of your passport to the application for study abroad. If you don't have one, or you have one that's expiring, just upload something that says renewing passport, and then I will know, and I will check in with you again later and then actually renew it. And that is where I am. So any questions for Marley or parting words from you? No questions. Okay. Parting words, Marley?
Nothing I can think of.
Tell them to go abroad.
Oh, I didn't know that was a question. Yeah, obviously you should go. I mean, it's an amazing experience. It's maybe one of the, I mean, one of the only times that you can spend so long in another country and be totally supported. Like I now want to go back and I have to figure out school and if could get a work visa and like money and all of these kinds of things. And this program makes it really easy to be in another country, getting all of the support. I mean, the people that were working with us handled like everything for me, everything like logistically that I had to do. And it was awesome. So this is a really great opportunity if you want to experience living abroad. Yeah, and also just for self growth and learning things about the world and all that stuff.
Thank you.